There's no secret that almost everyone wants to be happy, but the issue lies in misconstrued and misconceptions surrounding what happiness actually is. Happiness is not something to be achieved. It's not something that we strive for in the sense that, I want a new car, I want a new house. What it really is our day-to-day mental state and how we feel about the existence that we're currently experiencing as an explanation for how we can live a truly happy life. I think that this ancient philosophy has so much relevance in the modern world, and I really think you're going to find this helpful. Stoicism holds that the keys to a happy life lies within the cultivation of an excellent mental state. To dissect the real core principles of this, I'm going to summarize the work of Epictetus into two main foundational principles, both of which can be really umbrellaed under the term control how you think. And I know at first that might sound kind of strange, but it'll make sense very soon. So the first foundational principle is quite simple. It's that some things are under our control and many things are not under our control. This might sound extremely basic, but when you start to sit down and think about what your worries and your anxieties are, you realize that most of your unhappiness is caused by things that you cannot control, things that you cannot do anything about. What can we actually control? Epictetus argues that we actually cannot control very much. We can't control things that happen to us. We can't control what people say and do, what other people say and do. We also can't even control our own bodies to an extent. Whenever you think about it, you can't really control whether you get a serious terminal illness or whether you even die if it's against your own will and request. The world is not fair, and the world is not working for us a lot of the time. So the chaotic reality of this world and of reality is that most things are outside of our own control. And I don't mean that to be a point of panic or a point of worry, it's exactly the opposite of that. So in relation to these things that we cannot control, what can we do? What we can control is our reactions and our judgment towards them. This is simply the way we think about things. And this will really make sense in the second principle. So the second foundational principle, it's not things that upset us, but how we filter and perceive those things. If we judge or perceive an incident or an occurrence in our life as bad, we're likely to react with anger or upset or sadness as an emotional response, depending of course on what kind of situation has occurred. Likewise, if we judge that something bad is likely to happen or could happen to us, we tend to live in an existing state of worry, a state of anxiety, and that becomes our reality, and that is really taken away from daily happiness. All of these states of emotion and realities which we live are all a product and a result of our judgments to events that happen around us within the world. In reality, all things that happen, all occurrences in your life, and as crazy as this might sound, no matter how bad it is, all of them are neutral. They are objectively neutral. It is your subjective opinion and your subjective judgment which creates the reality and the emotional response in which you will then live. For example, what might seem world-ending and extremely serious to you, to another person might seem quite mundane and quite normal for their existence, but yet you spin it and perceive it in a way that is so negative and so bad that to someone else it would really just be kind of like another average day. So an important takeaway is that the judgments that we make, they add the value to these things. They add the picture, they create the picture, they paint it, and they make the reality that we live. But the saving grace in all of this is that these judgments are the only thing that Stoics say that we have complete and utter control over. And this is obviously assuming that someone has their right mental state, their right mental mind, and the actual ability to analyze themselves and reflect upon their thoughts and actions. So I guess a classic Stoic paradox can be that we fundamentally have control of almost nothing, but in reality, we do almost have control of everything and how it affects us emotionally and our reality. So to address the elephant in the room, and it's something that I often had thought when I was reading many Stoic texts, and it's a criticism which is valid in its own right, is that it's really underestimating the daily trials that people face. I mean, what happens if someone can't afford to feed their family? What happens if someone comes down with a terminal illness? This is extremely bad. It is arguably objectively bad, not subjective. But the Stoics actually do have an answer for this, and they really do take it into consideration. In fact, Seneca, a famous Stoic, really did fully address this too. And if we look at Seneca's life, he lost many loved ones and he eventually took his own life. under pressure from Emperor Nero. So under the acknowledgement that it wasn't easy, it led to a development of a series of Stoic techniques which really help to practice this line of thought, and it really helps to cultivate this control over our perceptions. However, I will definitely need another video to go into these in depth and really instruct and show the best Stoic methods that I've applied in my life and that I really think are useful. And I genuinely feel that these are amazing in the modern era. We have so many stresses, we have so much information coming at us from all angles, unlike any other generation in history. And I think that is why an ancient philosophy such as Stoicism is becoming more and more relevant as time goes on. The need for clarity of mind and organizing of thoughts is stronger than ever before, and I really hope you'll take advantage of these principles and start to categorize and really think about how you're perceiving things, and you'll find your happiness, your day-to-day happiness will really greatly improve. But on that note, I do want to briefly outline for an example one Stoic technique that is very common and often used, and this example is one of something that Seneca practiced daily. So essentially at the end of each day, I want you to either, if you have like somewhere you can write, or even just in your head when you're lying in bed at night, think through the day's events, anything that stands out to you. So for example, a time where you used an emotional response, whether you got angry at someone, whether you reacted with sadness, whether you felt pretty bad. And I want you to think through objectively about what has happened in that event. And you can really gauge whether your emotional response was correct, whether you could have handled the situation better and how you could have dealt with it. The point of this is that in similar situations in the future, which I can really guarantee will arise again, you'll be able to react more fairly and more responsibly, with much more control over your emotions, because you'll have already logically thought through the process in your head. It'll also really help to understand your thought process and understand how you react to certain things. It's really about self-exploration, and I really feel that most people, myself included, I really neglected my own mental self-exploration and analysis of my reactions and thoughts until really sort of recently, the past few years. There's no doubt that as humans, we are emotional beings. We really react based on emotions. But what so many people don't realize, and what the aforementioned principles really demonstrate, is that these emotions, we have so much more control over them than we originally thought. And that in itself is really liberating. I'm Oliver David, and thank you very much for watching this episode. If you've enjoyed this, please drop a like and subscribe for more sort of self-development, stoicism, philosophy related videos. I love you all very much, and I will see you in the next one.